You too, Victor.
All right. Well, first off, good evening, happy inauguration day, and also happy New Year. My name is Victor Shin. I'm president and chairman of the board for the Asian Business League, and also on behalf of the Asian Leaders Alliance and the NAP, we've come together to put on another program for you here to kick off 2021. This is a continuation of our leadership development series that we started last year, in which we renamed to Gateway. And we feel that's a very appropriate name, and just hoping to open doors and thoughts and ideas, and sharing information with many of our members here. We're very excited to bring all of you together. In fact, I'm very excited to see many new faces and some longtime friends here on the virtual call. As you know, and all of us are in the same boat, we were waiting for 2020 to end and to move into 2021. But as you know, not much has really changed other than vaccines coming around the corner, the economy picking up, hopefully getting back to some type of normalcy. But we are still some time away from that. And I know throughout the year, especially last year, there was a lot of struggles. It could be financially, maybe personal loss, job, maybe opportunities or situations that were created due to the pandemic that happened. And all of us go through changes. A lot of us go through different thought processes, but really, it's attributed to change, and it's definitely impacted us, in one way, shape, or another. And so when we thought about how we should begin, the next leadership series here, we want to make sure that we find an expert, and luckily, expert comes from our own backyard here, and she'll be introduced shortly by Keith. But we want to make sure that you know that we talk about our mental well-being, what we could do to move into 2021 with positive energy and thoughts that'll really help us achieve success throughout the year. And I believe this is going to be a great presentation, and I hope all of you enjoy it. So with that, I want to say thank you once again, and taking your time tonight to spend some time with us. And Keith, I'm going to kick it off over to you now.
Hey, thanks, Victor. Thanks again. So, Happy New Year. This is the first in our rebranded series. So it used to be called the Professional Development Series, but now it is called Gateway. It's being presented by the Asian Business League, the Asian Leaders Alliance, and NAP San Francisco. I am Keith Koo. I am on the board of Asian Business League. I also am a consultant, and I have a radio show, Silicon Valley Insider. I'll be the moderator tonight, and I want to once again thank you all for being here. I want to introduce one of our own board members, Stephanie Lee. Stephanie is a licensed mental health therapist who specializes in helping Asian professionals improve their relationships with themselves and with others. She works with Asian and Asian mixed race couples, as well as Asians individually, wanting support with their relational lives. She helps clients navigate the complexities of culture and identity and understand how they impact relationships, both personal and professional. She received her master's in social work at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, completed specialized postgraduate training at the psychodynamic therapy at the Psychotherapy Institute in Berkeley, and is a certified healing shame practitioner for the Healing Shame Institute in Berkeley. She's been helping individuals and couples over the last 9 years and currently runs her private practice, the Bay Area Relationship Support. And this right now, because of COVID, her practice is now virtual. So with that, I'm gonna have Stephanie do a presentation. Now, if there's questions and if we have time for them, just drop them in chat. And if you wanna do that privately, you can send that to Ramon, who is also one of my co-hosts of the event tonight. And stay tuned, because this is the first time you've joined us. We do a mixer, a virtual networking session at the end from 6:30 to 7 p.m. and you don't want to miss it. It's a lot of fun. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for having me, everyone, tonight. And I'm really excited to be sharing with you guys my love and my passion, understanding humans and ourselves more. So I'm impressed that you guys showed up. Feelings is not a typical thing that we talk about in professional development, but feelings is actually really important because it's a huge part of being human. And as humans, we are the agents of the work that we do. So it's really important that we take care of ourselves and that we know ourselves really well so that we can utilize all of our resources and all of our abilities to the best possible way that we can for our work. So you notice joining me today in the background, have to acknowledge, I brought these fuzzy bears with, since we're talking about feelings. And I will say, I actually tend to get very intellectual and I will probably end up getting really lectury at you guys. Apologize in advance now. So that's there to remind us to stay a little, fuzzy and feely and stay in our feelings to a certain degree. But before I jump into the presentation, I just wanted to get a pulse on you guys. What is your relationship to feelings? Do you like feelings? Do they annoy you? What does that conjure up for you guys? And just feel free to unmute and just throw something out there.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
That's right.
Including myself.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh in? What's your relationship to feelings?
I think from at least a stereotype for men, it's hard to communicate. You're not supposed to have feelings or not supposed to be as expressive in that.
Yeah. And
sorry, I was just going to say, as a woman, it's funny that he said as a man. As a woman, I feel like we have to suppress our feelings and maybe not show them as openly or publicly as we may actually be feeling them.
Thanks so much, Baljeet.
I think especially for immigrant generation, the first generation born abroad, we're trained not to express our emotions, right? So that's an expectation, a cultural expectation.
Great. I appreciate you guys weighing in your input. This is a lot of what I see in my practice. I have a client every week comes in and wants to talk about how she feels a certain way about her feelings, right? I feel so annoyed that I'm anxious. I feel so embarrassed that I'm sad about this. I feel weak because I'm not over this guy that I broke up with 8 months ago, right? So we have lots of feelings. We have feelings about feelings. And but I'm here to share with you today how you can leverage those feelings to your advantage, how to not let feelings be a negative thing that you're trying to avoid or that brings you down or gets in the way of your work, but rather how can you use them as a resource to be able to work better. So I have a lot for you guys today, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start my presentation. Okay, so this is achieving peak performance, and we are learning to adjust to the new normal with COVID going on. So starting out with a little photo of a devil here. Maybe this is how we feel about feelings. Sometimes feelings feel like little devils inside our bodies trying to torture us and drive us insane, right? But I'm here to tell you today that that's not the case. Feelings are actually information, very useful information that can help you to be able to maximize your potential and do the best that you can in achieving your goals. Now, the reason why information is important, I like to use the analogy of the cell phone, right? We spend hundreds, sometimes over $1,000 on these little smartphone devices, but a lot of us don't know much about the device. And I don't know about you, but I basically only use it for texting, messenger, email, and my weather app, right? So we're paying all this money. We have these phones. They can do really incredible things. Some people who know a lot about the phone are able to make the most of it and get their money's worth. And other people like me don't really get a lot out of it because they don't know all the many things that the phone can do. And I think it's the same way with people. We have so many resources inside our bodies and inside our brains that we don't realize how we can tap into it. We don't understand how it works. And so therefore we're not living out our full potential because we don't even know about our own brains and bodies and who we are. And so this is why, as a therapist, one of my goals is to help clients to become more self-aware, because when you become more self-aware, you're not going to be just acting on autopilot doing random things. You're going to be really intentional. You're going to know why you're doing what you're doing, and you're going to be able to make choices that benefit your life and help you achieve your goals. So that's my goal for you guys today, is to leave with really clear insights, frameworks, and tools on how you can live more intentionally and feel more agency over your life. So before I go forward in talking about feelings, I want to reframe our view of feelings in terms of positive and negative feelings versus to pleasant and unpleasant feelings. Oftentimes we say negative or positive feelings because, yeah, when you're sad or you're mad or you're lonely, we see this as a negative. But the reality is feelings, well, actually, I want to ask you guys, do you guys know why we have feelings? What's the point? What is the purpose it serves?
Protecting us.
Okay, protecting us, and how?
To get you to take action.
Okay, take action. I saw someone in the chat said motivate us. Good, so great. You guys know, yeah, you guys already know. So when we have these quote negative feelings, which I want to reframe and encourage you guys to think of as unpleasant feelings, those feelings are there to indicate to us that we have a certain need and that we need to be motivated to meet that need. And so a way to think about it is this: when we feel pleasant feelings, that's our body's way of communicating to us that our needs are met. And so you have this pleasant feeling, and then you make that connection. Oh, why am I having this pleasant feeling? What need is met? Do more of that so that I can keep doing that need. So fulfilling that need. So pleasant feelings help motivate us toward things that we enjoy and that meet our needs. In the same way, unpleasant feelings, they help indicate to us what needs are not met. And so let's run through a few examples of this to illustrate my point. So for example, we experience pleasant feelings when our needs are met. So I want you guys to unmute and fill in the blank here. And there's no one right answer. There can be multiple right answers. I feel refreshed and restored after a good night's rest because my need for blank is met. Anyone? It started with an easy one. Somebody's got to know this.
Rest.
Okay, I did hint that in the sentence itself. Rest or sleep.
Oh, I feel refreshed and restored after a good night's sleep because my need for rest is met.
Yep, my need for rest, my need for sleep. Great. I feel appreciative and thankful when my husband cooks me dinner because my need for blank is met.
Hunger.
Hunger.
Appetite.
Appetite. Food.
Energy.
Energy. Good.
Acts of
Appreciation.
service.
Acts of service. Yes. Prepared for. Thanks. Yeah, the women are jumping in with that. That's what I was thinking.
Heck
Support.
yeah.
Support, love, thoughtfulness. That's right. All those things. I feel excited and alive when I travel because my need for blank is met.
Adventure.
Yep. Adventure.
Fun.
Fun. Couple more.
Adrenaline.
Novelty. Adrenaline. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yep. Great. So a multitude of needs can actually be met from one activity that we do, and different needs will be met for different people based on these. Some people might have rest when they travel, right? Other people might have exploration. There's so many different things, or a combination of all these things. Okay, let's try the other one. We experience unpleasant feelings when our needs are not met. I feel hungry and grouchy when my need for blank is unmet.
Food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, try to start easy. I feel detached and lonely when my need for blank is not met.
Validation.
Mm-hmm. Validation. Couple more. Companionship. Mm-hmm.
Family.
Family. Great. Connection, friends. I feel worried and insecure when my need for blank isn't met.
Security,
Mhm.
stability,
Stability. Mhm.
normalcy,
Normalcy. Maybe reassurance. Okay, great. So you guys can see it can be something very basic like food or sleep to things that are a little bit more abstract, like novelty, excitement, right? Stability, reassurance. So sometimes it's easy to decipher and other times it's a little bit more complicated. But the point here is I really want you guys to get clarity on when feelings come up. It's your body's way of trying to send you a message of what you need. And that's your body's way of motivating you to meet that need. So here's the interesting thing. I like to use a car analogy because human beings are such incredible creatures and we've been evolved to be able to survive the most difficult circumstances. And so even if we're not really conscious aware of this process of understanding our feelings and understanding our needs, we're still going to find some way to meet our needs to survive because we're really programmed and wired for survival. But like a car, you know, if you take really good care of the car, you clean it, you change its oil, you fill it with gas, you do its tires, you do the regular maintenance, you know, your car is going to be in really nice shape and it's going to run really well. It's going to run for a long time. It's going to look great, right? Whereas if you don't take care of your car, then your car might still run, but it's not going to be in great condition and it might have a lot of problems. You might be constantly having to bring it to get fixed, all of these things, right? So, you know, the question is, do you want to be the Mercedes? Do you want to be a really nice car that's working in pristine condition and well taken care of and everything is working properly and to its best ability? Or do you want to be like a beat down, run down car that's barely making it from point A to point B and is always having to stop to get fixed, right? So I'm going to teach you today, how can you be that Mercedes? How can you be the car that is running efficiently and smoothly and to your highest potential? So the thing that's frustrating is that these cars, they come with manuals, they come with instructions, right? But we don't come with a manual. And if you're a parent, you'll know that that's probably a really frustrating thing. How do I, you know, this little human pops out, what do I do? How do I take care of them? How do I meet all their needs? But it's the same thing with us. Once we become adults, it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves. And now we are our own parents. So what is our manual? What do we have that's going to teach us and indicate us to what our needs are and how to take care of ourselves? Well, the answer is our bodies and our minds. Those are our manuals. Our bodies have senses and feelings that indicate to us what needs are met and unmet. And there's actually a study done that shows that there are common areas in the body that light up and have feeling or that go numb based on what the feeling is. And so you can see in the chart, red is a lot of activation and feeling, whereas the blue is numbness and lack of feeling. And so when we have different feelings like anger, for example, you know, you see how yellow it is in the hands, a fist, right? And then in the face. How many of you experienced when you're angry that your face gets really warm and then your fist get this like energy, like you want to punch someone? Have you guys experienced that? Or like when you're depressed, it's like you're just numb. You don't feel anything. Yep. Or when you're in love, you know, it's like whole visceral reaction, your whole body lights up, everything's tingling, everything's exciting. It's like you're flying, right? Same with happiness. When you're happy, it's just you feel it in your whole body. It just feels light and enthusiastic. If you're surprised, you might feel it like in your head and your chest, like you were, you know, hit by something, right? So all of these sensations that we feel in our body, this is our body's way of signaling to us that we have some kind of feeling. And then what our brains does is our brains register, oh, there's this feeling, and then it interprets what the need is. So like I said, humans, Homo sapiens, we've been around for 200,000 years. We've been able to survive so many things on this earth, you know, hurricanes, natural disasters, bears, lions, tigers, right? And so we've been able to find the body has evolved to be able to withstand all of these things through this process of the mind-body connection. The body feels things, it sends a message to the brain interprets it, and then the brain sends a message down to the body to act on it. So this is a little bit about how it works. So basically the lower brain, this is like our primal survival brain. This is the oldest part of the brain. So when you look at early Homo sapiens, this lower part of the brain back here by your brainstem is the area that has been around the longest. So as humans have evolved, our higher brain has also formulated and become more complex and has been able to have more mental clarity and engage in personal growth, have intellectual understanding. The higher brain has been able to hear those signals from the body that come through the lower brain and make meaning of it, okay? But the thing is that this process is a really fast process, and sometimes it can happen in a way that we're not quite interpreting things in the right way, or we're just reacting. So if you're not intentionally really using your brain to think about what's going on in my body, what is going on in the surroundings, what's the context, right? You're not going to stop every single moment and think about every single thing, otherwise it takes forever to get done. So this is something that happens quickly. It's a reactionary process, and it oftentimes happens without conscious thought. The problem with this is sometimes our perception is off, right? Or our feelings might feel so strong that we don't have time to think about what to do and we just react, right? So how many of you have ever gotten in a fight with your partner and you just start yelling at them? And you're yelling because you want to be heard, you want them to understand you, but the reality is that's not a very strategic way of being understood, right? Well, it's not strategic because you're reacting. You're trying to get a need met. You're trying to be heard. You're trying to be understood. Rationally kind of makes sense, right? This person's not hearing me. This person's not understanding me. So I'm going to raise my voice and talk at a louder volume and maybe they'll understand me. But the reality is that usually just upsets people and makes their, brains go offline and them get reactional and just yell back at you, right? So an intentional way is if you feel that anger coming up and you're a person who's done this work that I'm sharing about today, to be aware of the sensation in your body that comes up and then make a mental connection about what's going on and be able to think about, what do I really need? What do I want here? What can I do to get my need met? Then that's going to be more effective in being able to be heard and understood. Because then if you can slow the process down, you're aware of your feelings, you connect your visceral feelings to your brain to think about what you really need. What is this feeling about? Then you can be more intentional about the actions you're going to take. So that's what I really want to encourage you guys to do today. Okay, so how do we do this? Oh, real quick, any questions? Okay, I'm just going to keep going, and if there's questions at the end, we can do that. But I hope, is everybody following me here, the basic premise that I'm lining up here?
Yes.
Yes, yes, okay, thank you. All right, so how do we move from being reactionary to intentional? So without surprise, I've been talking about this all along, we need to be aware of our feelings, okay? And as I showed you earlier, feelings, we think that feelings and emotion is like in your brain, right? Mental health, your brain. But feelings are actually a collection of physical sensations in your body. We feel anxiety in our chest, in our neck, right? We feel surprise in our head. We feel sadness in our hearts, right? It's a collection of sensations. So I think this is something that a lot of us don't really do. We don't really check in. How does my body feel? What's going on in my arms, my legs, my chest, my head, right? We don't check in with that. But there's a lot of information in our body, in these sensations. So that's the place to start, is sensations. Am I feeling heat? Am I feeling lightness? Am I feeling tension, fatigue, the headache, right? All these feelings in our body are sensations that are there to indicate there's a feeling happening, something's going on. So why don't you guys take a minute to do that right now? Just check in with your body. Do you feel any sensations? Maybe if you had a tiring day, you're feeling really heavy and exhausted, and your body's telling you you need some rest. Or maybe not rest, maybe you need excitement and stimulation to wake you up. It's different for different people. Or maybe your heart is racing and you're feeling on edge. Maybe you feel anxious. Maybe you hate being on the screen, or maybe you have a deadline coming up and you're stressed out, but you want to come to this session so you can learn how not to be stressed out, right? Anybody want to share what sensations they might be having right now?
I have a headache.
Uh-oh, so you have a headache.
Yes.
All right, I won't make you analyze to us here, but thank you for sharing. So you're becoming aware of the headache. And hopefully the headache is not from me talking so fast and spitting so many concepts at you, making you.
I've had a headache all day.
Okay, good. Anyone else have any sensations they're experiencing right now?
How's the dinner? I guess I feel hungry.
Okay, yeah. But what's the sensation? So you're giving me the word hunger. So is this something in your stomach?
My stomach, yeah, my stomach just made some growling noise. I mean, that's too a bit specific.
Mm-hmm. It's growling. Does it feel tight, or what does it feel?
It's just like, you know, it's like it made some kind of noise. So no tightness, but it sounds like an animal or something.
Yeah. Okay. So it's literally growling at him. It's
Yes.
making noise to get his attention. If you need to go grab a snack, I won't be offended. So
No, I'm not.
Take care of yourself. Okay. Yeah. So, and it's kind of hard to explain it, right? Like maybe a churning. It's hard for me to explain the sensation of hunger, even though this is my field. So it's a different concept. It's a different way of thinking. We don't often think, what are the sensations in my body? What am I feeling? But it's important to take that time to check in, because there is going to be a lot of useful information there. Another interesting one I want to throw out is judgments. There's this really great quote by Marshall Rosenberg. He's the developer of nonviolent communication. It's a type of communication style that I absolutely love, and I encourage you to check out his book. But what he says is that every criticism, judgment, diagnosis, and expression of anger is the tragic expression of an unmet need. So when we find ourselves judging, there's usually a reason why we're invested in this other person. Why do we even care what this other person is doing? Why are we judging them? It's usually because that's a reaction to some feeling that we have based on our need being threatened or unmet, right? So, you know, when I first married my husband, I judged him all the time about how messy he was. I was always seeing in my mind, this guy is so sloppy and irresponsible, and he's so messy, and it just drove me crazy. But the reason is I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed out because I wanted my space to feel clean and orderly. And I feel a little hypocritical saying that, because I'm actually a really messy person, but at least if it's going to be messy with my stuff the way I want it to be messy, it's like, if I'm really being honest. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, I was thinking, this is about him, this is about him, this is his problem. But the reality is, it was my problem. I needed something, and so I was dealing with it by judging him. The thing is, when you judge somebody else, then, you know, you can judge, it's fine, but then, like, your need's not going to be met, right? And so this isn't about blame. I'm not saying that it was my fault, or I'm not saying whose fault is it or who's to blame. It's very practical. Okay, I'm judging. So what am I feeling? Well, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Okay, why are you feeling overwhelmed? Everything is a cluttered mess, and it takes a lot of time to clean, and I'm trying to work on my career goals, and I don't have time to clean all day, right? So then from there, you can figure out, okay, I have a need for this orderliness, and then you can work on finding a solution. But when you judge, that's kind of the end of the story. It's somebody else's fault. So then you're really stuck. There's nothing you can do. So if you catch yourself judging someone else and being annoyed at them, like, I want you to step back and think about, why am I judging? What am I feeling right now as I judge them? Am I afraid of something? Maybe I'm afraid that my connection needs won't be met if this person does X, Y, and Z. Maybe I'm afraid that they're not going to be able to be there for me if they X, Y, and Z, right? So judgments can be a clue for feelings. Coping mechanisms. So coping mechanisms aren't bad. They're there to help us cope, right? But the problem is they can be bad when they mask what the problem is and we never find a solution, right? So, drugs and alcohol can be a common coping mechanism, distractions, escape. For me, many of you know I'm a big fan of scotch. And sometimes I just want to enjoy a really delicious scotch and enjoy a night out with my friends. But there's other nights where I have this long day and, they say like you drink to take the edge off. Well, if you're drinking to take the edge off, then there's some edge. So I'm not saying drinking, you shouldn't drink and you're bad if you drink. And, we're not here to judge that. But we're here to say, I feel like I need to take the edge off. What is the edge? Where's that coming from? What am I feeling? What did I go through today? And take a moment to really figure out, what are you feeling that is making you on edge? And once you figure that out, what is the need that isn't met? And how can I meet that need? What is the thing I really need here? And then what is the most optimum way to get that need met? The other thing to think about is sometimes the feeling thing is confusing because as we talked about in the beginning, we have a weird relationship to feelings. And a lot of us actually have shame around our feelings, especially, I think somebody mentioned as immigrants or children of immigrants, there's this mentality of like, it doesn't matter how you feel, you just need to survive. You just got to work, you just got to not die, right? And so we kind of, or our parents, maybe they were busy working and they couldn't really care for our needs or in our feelings. So we got messages growing up that our feelings don't matter. And so what happens is we have the psychological effect sometimes where we will have a feeling, but it's actually to mask another feeling that might be more vulnerable. So for example, I might feel really angry, but deep down inside, I actually feel sad or fearful. But angry just feels more powerful to me, whereas fearful and sad feels, very vulnerable or like I can't do anything about it. And so it's also good sometimes to step back if you're just feeling angry all the time or you're just anxious, to try to see, is there a feeling underneath? Okay, I'm going to go on to number 2. Ooh, running out of time. Okay, become familiar with your needs. So many of you may be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I actually don't really like this framework of needs because it really makes it seem like physical needs are the most important, and then your mental health or your self-esteem or self-actualization isn't as important. And honestly, I just don't think that's true. We have a strong need to feel connected. We have a need for meaning and purpose. We have a need for love and belonging, right? So I created, I'm not a graphic designer and I'm horrible on the computer. So this was actually one of my clients made this. I had it like scratched out on a piece of paper. So I apologize, it's in a beautiful chart. But I believe I put these 3 triangles and my idea is to put it on like an equal plane, that I actually think that health, in order to survive, not only is our health important, but we also need to thrive and we also need to have impact. I don't think those are extra or cherry on top. I think that's actually something that people need. We need connection and belonging. We need to create. We need to have experiences and novelty and newness. We need to feel accomplished. We need to give to others. It's interesting, I used to work with a homeless population in East Central Illinois, where I used to live. And it was really interesting because, the things that they wanted to talk to me about were never housing or food or shelter, things like that. It was always relationships. It was like, oh, my ex-girlfriend or my mom or my son, right? Or we would be out and about and somebody would, give somebody money. And then that person would run into another homeless friend who that they knew might be a little bit more in need. And then they return and give that money to the other person, right? And I mean, it's a little mind-boggling because you're like, don't you need money? You're eating like bologna sandwiches from the food pantry every day. Like, don't you want to use that money to buy something? But I think that indicates to me that there's some innate human desire to want to give to others, to want to connect to others and to care for others, even when your own quote unquote basic needs aren't met. So I really want to encourage you guys to really think about needs in a little bit more complex way, that we do need experiences and creativity and accomplishment and all these things. And really, you think, maybe you don't believe me that you would die if you don't have these things, but like, why might somebody kill themselves? There's plenty of people who have shelter and they have their health, but they still can't bear living. And my belief is because these needs of like connection or meaning or accomplishment, something's missing there, and they actually really needed it to keep going. So don't underestimate the importance of actually enjoying your life and having a sense of well-being, because that's an important part of our survival. So another resource here, this is a needs wheel. And it really opens our mind to what our needs are. We have more need than just money and food and shelter, right? We have a need to learn, right? Why are you guys here? You want to learn something new. There's some drive, there's some pull that you have as a human being to want to learn more, right? We have a need for balance. We have a need for trust, gratitude, cooperation, security, sustenance, empathy, honesty, right? Why do people get so mad when somebody lies to them or, breaks their trust? The mad feeling is saying to you that your need for honesty and trust was not met. Or, children get so mad when you're trying to get them to do something that they don't want to do, because as humans, they need autonomy, they need freedom, they need some choice, they need empowerment, right? The anger that they're displaying is showing that their need for this freedom is being threatened. Right, so just want to open your minds to think about needs that we may not consciously think that we have. Okay, so the next step, after becoming aware of our feelings and getting a better idea of what needs humans have and just owning that, like, I think that we have a weird relationship with needs, not just feelings, because we don't like the word, needy. When someone says you're needy, none of us take that as a compliment, right? Okay, the reality is, let me just normalize this. Everybody is needy. Everyone has needs, okay? So there's nothing to feel bad about. I mean, you can feel bad about it, but if you're just gonna feel bad about it and not do anything about it, you're not gonna get your need met. So it's only gonna hurt you in the end. So just want you guys to really own that, if you have needs, that's okay. Everyone has needs, and it's important to be attuned to them so that you can get them met. So 3, accurately connect the meaning of your feelings with your needs. So I talked a little bit about the brain earlier. The lower part of the brain is the more survival instinctual side. This is like the fight, flight, freeze side. And then the higher brain is the part that applies logic and reasoning and like helps you understand what this means. So if we break it down even more between left and right, left typically, and these are broad generalizations, the brain is a bit more complicated than this, but this will help you guys visualize it and think about this is an actual thing happening in your brain. The left side of the brain is the side associated with language, logic, facts, sequence, right? Okay. Our culture tends to value this left side a lot, especially if you look at early American history. We're born in the age of enlightenment and modernity and science and rationalization, right? And so we really like this side of the brain. But the thing is, if you're only thinking in terms of logic all the time, then you're missing a huge component of what the rest of your brain can do. The right side of the brain, which is creativity and emotion and seeing the big picture, long-term memory, right? So the more abstract things. So this right side is where that emotion lies. And a lot of times we think that emotion is not as superior as logic and feelings. But the reality is, like I've been sharing throughout the session, is that emotions and feelings provide the information needed for the left brain to make logic and meaning out of what's happening. Okay, so you need both. You can't apply logic without any information, right? And so I just really want to encourage you guys to value both feeling and logic. We need both of them in order to live well. So, feelings when your needs are satisfied. As I said earlier, we have pleasant feelings when our needs are met. So I put these charts side by side, and if anybody wants a copy of some of these charts, feel free to email me, or you can message Keith in the chat and your email, and I can send it to you. These charts are really nice to put side by side, because then you can clearly look at what are needs, what are feelings, and start getting a better idea of like, okay, my need for peace of mind is met when I'm feeling joyful, right? This will help you start making that connection between the left brain and the right brain. We call it integration, your left and right brain integration. The more you practice this skill of having your feeling and being able to connect it with the need, the more you're gonna be able to have the skill of doing that faster and more instantly, okay? So here's another chart. Feelings when your needs are not satisfied. So I feel pain, right? I feel nervous when my need for security is not met. And of course, you can get a little bit, you're going to get more specific, right, about your own life. And this is not easy stuff, guys. I don't expect you guys to hear this and just go and be able to make these connections. This is, people go to therapy to really learn themselves more and understand this and unpack it and try to figure out what is really going on. It's not an easy process. And I'm still working on it. I just want to introduce you guys to the idea and the process, so at least you know it, and you can start deciphering it and not just, fall into a puddle on the floor when you're feeling really crappy. I want you to be able to feel empowered that you can do something with it, okay? So don't worry if you don't get all this right away. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump to number 4. So the last step, once you get in touch with what your feelings are, you learn more about your needs, you learn how to attach the feelings to the needs and figure out what that is. The last step is you need to take action to meet your needs, and you need to come up with very tangible solutions to meet your needs. Now with COVID, this is going to have to be a very creative way to meet your needs. So the thing is, the reason why I wanted to show you the needs chart is because, so I could say, oh, I feel happy when I eat candy. So that must mean I need candy, right? Okay, so the need isn't actually candy, right? Maybe the need in that is sensory pleasure, or maybe it's dopamine, right? Or maybe, so you want to figure out what the actual need is, not like the object, right? So you might have fun after hanging out with friends, or you might think, oh, I know one. So your significant other, right? Your significant other breaks up with you and you're like, oh my gosh, my life is over. I need this person. Okay, honestly, you don't really need that person. It's just that that person fulfilled a lot of needs for you. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to pull out the chart, the needs list, and you need to ask yourself, what needs did this person fulfill for me? And I need to be creative about fulfilling these different needs in other ways. So you guys follow where I'm going with this? So, and it might not be like another significant other. Like sometimes you might need to spread out the way you meet these needs. Okay, so I'm going to give you a really concrete example. So I flashed a chart here. So this is a chart that I created. These are based on another needs conceptualization around 6 human needs divided into certainty, uncertainty, or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Okay, so the idea of this chart is that, I believe if you're doing a mix of, 4 to 8 things in your relationship with yourself and relationship with others, I'll explain that in a second, you should generally be happy. Your needs will probably be met. You'll be healthy, I mean. Do you have a question or? So let me just get really specific real quick. So I gave some examples that I use. And so here's the thing. You want to be having access or the ability to do 2 or 3 of these things in your life at any given time, but you want to have other options because, for example, if some crazy thing happens like COVID and you're no longer able to go out and do the things you used to do, you need to have other channels of meeting the same needs. All right. So if we look at this here, okay, so I have a strong need for uncertainty variety. I constantly need novelty. I can't do a routine. I can't do the same thing all the time. I used to deal with that by going to lots of events. I loved going into the city. I like jazz music, salsa dancing, checking out different bars, going to different forums, meeting different people, right? When COVID happened, I couldn't do that anymore, okay? So what I started doing is I started exploring hiking trails with my husband and with my dog. And every weekend, we would go to a different hiking trail. Some days we would drive all the way to Pacifica. Other days we would go 10 minutes down the road to the local park. So I started listening to music more than I used to listen. Or I used to listen to like the same music, but now I'm trying to listen to different music and mix it up. Food, I have a really hard time eating the same food every day. So I do a lot of ordering out. It's great, supports local businesses at the same time. And it kind of keeps my palate interesting and a little, more stimulation. I even got to the point where I went through a phase where we would go to Safeway like every night at 11, right before they close when no one's there. And I would pick like a treasure. I mean, you got to be creative, right? So there's different things that you can do. And unfortunately, I'm running out of time to really fully explain the chart. But we meet our needs in solitary activities that are really in relationship to ourselves. And then we also meet needs in our relationships with others. And again, you can't rely on one person to meet all of your relational needs or all of these needs. So it's important that you develop different friendships, different communities that you belong in, get a pet, volunteer. There's different ways that you can spread it out, because if at any time, you have a breakup or somebody moves away or passes away or, you move, right? A bunch of these things on your chart are going to go away and you're going to need some other way to fill it. And so, so if you want a copy of this, I can send it to you as well. But it's a really great way for you to sit down and just really be intentional about your life, really think about, what are my needs? How do I fill them now? The other thing, as I said before, whether we're intentional or not, we are going to find a way to meet our needs. So, for example, we have a need for contribution. We need to feel right, like we matter. We have something to give others. If we are not spreading that out and getting our needs met and contributing in a variety of ways where where our contribution is desired, we might start, being overbearing parents and constantly trying to help our kids with stuff they don't want help with, right? Or maybe we'll be that person who gives your friends unwanted advice all the time because you're trying to fulfill this need to be useful and to contribute, right? And this is what I call going the danger zone. If you're not being intentional about doing healthy things that are going to meet these needs, you're going to, on autopilot, again, in a reactionary way, start doing things that are annoying to other people to meet your needs, right? So let's say you have a need for significance and you're not actively going out doing things that make you feel significant. then you might start bragging to people or, you know, behaving in ways to try to feel significant that actually hurts you, because it's not, you're not thinking about it logically. You're not thinking about it intentionally. How is this really going to meet the need? You're just doing it to try to get that need met, right? So let's see. I think that puts us at time without a lot of time for questions. Can we go a few minutes over if anybody has questions?
Yeah, we're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna bring us back here. I always feel weird talking to my computer. I honestly hate these Zoom things, and I did a few workshops earlier on COVID. I said, never again, but this is the last time. But humor me here, guys. Are you here? Did you listen? Do you have questions?
Hey, Ramon, did we get any direct messages of questions to you?
Yeah. So there's only one thing. How do we reveal someone's true feelings who we usually know that they suppress their feelings? How do we get their feelings out? How do we get know that how they really feel? So they show you something that they're feeling, but you know they're feeling something else.
Okay, so this question is being asked about like if someone else is repressing your feelings. I think.
Yes.
I think I would rather answer it more for us personally, because I think at the end of the day, each person is responsible for their own feelings and meeting their own needs. So it's going to get a little tricky. Like, okay, how do we do this for someone else? So how do we reframe that question to be about me? How do I know when I'm repressing my feelings?
Sure, that works.
Okay. I think, as I mentioned earlier, like as you do more of the body awareness, you might even feel that sensation of repressing it. If you, a lot of body aches and pain and fatigue can come from emotional repression. So if you're feeling like bottled up, your back feels tense, you may be repressing some feeling. And in order to be able to get that out, it can be helpful to, you know, do things that are sensory oriented, be in touch with your body, right? Yoga, talking to a friend, talking to a therapist, journaling. You know, you want to try to sort it out and give some time to feel that. Now, if a person's repressing their feelings, it's probably because the feeling is really painful. And so there's a reason you're repressing it. So this is where I have a hard time explaining, like trying to teach this stuff in a workshop format, because this is actually really deep stuff. This is why I love working one-on-one with clients, because that's when you can really get in there and really slowly open it up and help the person be able to feel safe enough or feel equipped to be able to tolerate the feeling. So we need to understand, if you're repressing it, why are we repressing it? What, it's too painful. So if it's at that point, then it sorry, you knew I was going to say it. You should probably go see a therapist. Okay. And when someone says it to you, it doesn't mean that you're screwed up or like, you know, a complete mess, right? Therapy is there to help you become more self-aware at the end of the day. They're there to help you understand yourself more and for the therapist to understand you more, so that they can help support you and figure out what is your unique challenge and struggle, and how can they teach you how to handle these emotions so that you can get to the point where you can tolerate them long enough to feel them, so you can figure out what your needs are and figure out how to make your situation better.
Awesome.
Any other
Thanks for that a good detailed response. We actually have a couple more questions that came in.
Okay.
How do we, let's see. How do we talk to family members with different political views? If this is an appropriate question.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, what I would ask is, what need are you trying to fulfill, for one, by talking with the family member? Does the person who asked want to answer that? So this is another thing, Marshall Rosenberg, that I read the quote earlier about judging and criticism being an indication of our unmet needs. The other thing, his other theory is that anytime we speak to someone, there's a request behind what we're saying. Usually it's something more basic, like the request is just you want to make a connection, or the request is you want someone to hear you and see you and know where you're at, right? So I'm not going to tell you the nitty gritty on how to talk to your family, but I want you to practice what we learned today. Step back and ask yourself, you know, what feelings come up when I have that motivation to talk to them? What's the need that is met here, right? Is the need to connect? Is the need to fulfill your curiosity? Is it a need for perspective? Is it a need to share your idea? Is it a need to correct someone, right? So I want you to get clarity on what the need is, and then you can be strategic about, okay, how do I get this need met? And is this the right channel for meeting that need?
We have a few more questions, Stephanie. One is, have you seen success with your clients in regards to COVID and substituting other activities to meet unmet needs? And this person happens to be a coach. My experience has been black and white, extreme escapism or deep introspection.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that my clients do use the therapy time to help them meet their needs. It's nice for them to have someone that they know that they're going to be able to talk to on a weekly basis. I think that a lot of my clients are moving forward and still having personal goals, whether it's relational goals or work goals, and having something to work toward. I think that when life stands still, when the world stands still and there's not much going on, having goals has been a really great way for people to feel like they're still moving forward and life is changing. And I've seen my clients still be able to transform despite the pandemic, because this is a great time to work on personal growth, because that is something you can do even when the world is shutting down.
Thanks. Next question is, I know we want to be specific versus being general, but are there any findings or data or more common topics or things that Asians might come across more?
Mm-hmm. So I would have loved to talk about this more today, but because of limited time and I'm already throwing so much information at you guys, shame is another huge topic that I work with clients a lot, especially around what we talked about today. In the fight, flight, freeze survival mechanism, shame is the freeze state. Shame is when, you know, shame comes up to keep us from behaving in a way that is going to get us kicked out of the community. And so this is when Asian culture is a shame-based culture. A lot of us learn how to behave by like being told what not to do and trying to be really careful and tiptoe. And so I would say that's another area to explore. There's a lot of great resources out there now about shame. It's actually really new. Shame wasn't originally addressed very much in psychology, but there is literature on it now. And if you're interested in that, I encourage you to do some searches to learn more, and I could share more resources if that's of interest to you as well.
Thanks. And the last question we have is, how do you figure out which activity helped you meet a need? And then when you're no longer seeking to fill those needs by annoying people around you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like to think of things instead of like positive, negative, good or bad. I don't really like these categories because I don't think the world is really that simple. What I go for in terms of like the chart and how to meet your needs is really thinking about what is the cost versus benefit analysis, right? So I can do this thing, it does meet this need, but this is the cost, right? So getting more familiar with what is the cost, right? So I used the idea of like candy earlier, right? So candy might make you happy. It might give you that dopamine you need or that sensory stimulation that gets you out of your head, right? But then there might be a cost. You might get diabetes, you might gain weight, your teeth might rot, right? So then you can think, okay, are there other ways that I can get sensory pleasure? Are there other ways that I can get dopamine, right? And then you think of the other way and then you ask yourself, okay, what is the cost of that? So in terms of figuring out what activity helped you meet a need versus the other needs that might annoy people, right? We might meet our social needs by, you know, maybe by being pushy to other people or violating boundaries. That's a really big way to connect, right? Sometimes we're really desperate to connect. And so, which I don't blame anyone for, especially in this time period, right? But then somebody might set a boundary and we might just keep violating it over and over because we're just reacting. And but the cost is maybe in that moment that you violate their boundary, you get a connection, but in the long run you might push them away and you might lose a friend altogether. So you need to learn. I mean, a lot of it's like you do it, you learn from your mistakes. You realize, oh, if I keep disrespecting people's boundaries, people are not going to want to be friends with me. And then in the end, I have no friends. So this is not a good, the cost is high, right? So this is kind of the way I do it. Again, it's really nuanced and it's pretty complicated how it all works. So it's not something you're going to like walk out of this workshop and know exactly. But if you take a time to like work on your self-awareness with your body, if you look at the needs list, look at the needs charts, start making connections in your own life. When you catch yourself judging people, step back, ask yourself why, what's going on, what need is unmet. When you're starting to feel lonely or depressed, be like, okay, it's because the need is met. What do you do if you're hungry and you don't eat right away? Ramon, how's your stomach doing?
Oh, I calm down a little.
Oh, okay. Well, in his case, it calmed down a little. But basically, if he doesn't eat for another 24 hours, he's going to be in a lot of pain. If you ignore your feelings and you don't meet the need it's trying to get you to meet, the feeling is just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So if you're lonely and you don't do anything about it and you just decide to, watch TV instead or just play video games instead, don't talk to anybody, you're just going to get more and more lonely and sad, and you might eventually get depressed because your needs are just not met. And that's your body saying, I'm screaming to you, I'm crying to you, listen to me, right? Just like our stomach, the more you wait, it's yelling at you, I'm hungry, feed me, right? It's the same with feelings, right? So the more you're aware of it, a lot of us aren't aware. So we wait until we're so anxious, we're freaking out, or we're so angry, we're like yelling at our partners, or we're so, depressed that we can't even leave the house anymore, right? Don't wait for it to get to that point. Really try to check in with yourself. If you feel like you're struggling with it, I really encourage you to see a therapist, and I'd be more than happy to help you to find one. Take care of yourself. If you want to be a leader, if you want to thrive in your career, you remember the picture of the car. Do you want to be the car that's running really well and well taken care of, or do you want to be the car that's like the clunker that's barely getting from point A to point B? So you have to take care of these needs. You cannot ignore them. It is very important. And if you want to reach your goals, you have to take care of yourself. You're the vehicle to get you to your goals. So I know this whole self-care stuff can sound a little cheesy sometimes, but it's real, and it makes sense. So I just want to encourage you guys to try to tap in. Feelings matter for professional development. So I'll end on that note.
Right. Well, thanks, Stephanie. Thank you again for being with us tonight. And it's so nice for me because we've been on the board for however many years, and to actually see you in your element, it's been a very powerful presentation and one that a lot of people would like to get access to. So we'll make sure that those who requested it, that will connect you with Stephanie. And thanks again.